Welcome to Is It ADHD Your Life? A couple's perspective, where we unravel what it's like to live with ADHD within a relationship. And this week, we're not asking any questions because we've got a special episode with a very, very special guest. Joining us this week, we have Anthony Palacin, and he is a ADHD. What was that? Free flow, free state. Start again.
Well done.
I know, yeah. I've read it that much. I've kind of got all these words into my head. Anthony is a neurodivergency podcast and flow state coach, and we have met him and we absolutely love him, and we thought let's have him on and talk about his journey. So welcome, Anthony.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. How are you? You okay?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant. So just before we start then, let's find out. So where are you based at the minute?
At the moment, I am in France.
Lovely stuff. Lovely. Whereabouts in France are you?
In the Pyrenees Mountains, kind of near Spain.
Oh, nice.
Similar to Manchester.
Yeah. Very similar. Very similar. Okay, let's get straight on then, because I want to try and get as much information as we can from you. So let's talk about, can you talk about your life before kind of ADHD came into play?
Yeah, actually, I was living what I thought a normal life until my mid-20s, and then I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I was put on medication, had a really terrible time, low motivation, felt stuck. Then I did a bunch of work, found a strong sense of purpose. I discovered spirituality, and then I discovered about ADHD. And when I discovered about ADHD and started reading into it, I thought this is explaining everything about my life. I went and did the diagnostic process in France. Actually, the main reason that I was doing that is because I wanted to move away from the bipolar medication. But because I had done so much other stuff while kind of waiting to land on discovering ADHD, I had already managed a lot of ADHD symptoms naturally through education and lifestyle and healing trauma, that I didn't actually get the diagnosis, but I very much self-identify as ADHDer because it speaks a lot more to my life than bipolar. Yeah.
Interesting you said about it speaks to your life. Can you think of any particular challenges that you faced before, kind of, or in childhood maybe? So as you were growing up, any challenges that you faced not knowing that maybe ADHD played a part in that?
Absolutely. I mean, the top two were procrastination and rejection sensitivity. And
that is like Adam in a nutshell.
Yeah. I remember procrastinate. I was, if not the number one procrastinator in the class, definitely in the top two or three, because I was also pushed to be very serious about school and achievement and all this. So there was a fine balance between the two that just meant I was doing everything in a rush at the very last minutes. I remember one particular school day, I had homework due in every single class, and I actually did the homework for the next class during the previous class. I didn't do any of it at home. Yeah.
As a teacher, that would not go down well in my lesson.
Yeah, well,
I'm someone who used to do it in the bus on the way to school. That's when I done my homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic. So yeah, I very much relate to that.
Amazing.
And the rejection sensitivity piece, I always put on so much of a people-pleasing mask and kind of coax things into being less than what they actually are. A lot of it to protect myself, and I'm only starting to peel back the layers behind that in the recent years. So it's been 15 years since then.
Wow. I think you probably can relate to that a lot, can't you? Because you have a lot of RSD.
Definitely are.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the major factors of it, and it's interesting about the layers because I believe there's so much that you've got to look into, and then you take away one, and then something else pops up, and then yeah.
Massive. So how was there like a turning point or a light bulb moment that you had where you thought, hang on, because I know like for Adam, for example, it was your son who was going through the diagnosis and you found the what's the word I'm looking for? Symptoms.
Yeah,
The
the forms.
symptoms. And you were like, oh God, this is me. Was there a light bulb moment for you, Anthony, where you thought, oh, actually this could be ADHD?
For the ADHD light bulb moments, it really was going through the diagnostic process
Okay.
because it's actually a long process, and my sessions with the psychiatrist were quite short. So he allowed me to take it home and kind of do it on my own almost, which I think is a big flaw, but that's besides the point. Um, I was able to look at every question in a lot of depth, and I was so dissatisfied by the how rough of a scale it was because you have to pick between basically four types of responses: strongly agree, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. And you have to think about things that happened in childhood. So when you're 30 something, you don't really remember how you were when you were 5 or 10.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
it.
but anyway, I was looking at all these questions and I was landing in a pretty good place, but the overall result was kind of borderline diagnostic. But what really was the light bulb moment for me was 30 to 40% of these questions. I would say if I had taken the test 5 years ago, before I had discovered the flow state neuroscience training that I did, then I would have been like, this is a strongly agree, but now it's just an agree or a disagree. So
Interesting.
30 or 40% of those questions, I'm losing diagnostic points when actually because of all the trainings that I did, not because of what my brain actually was,
Yeah.
for my whole life. So that really flipped a switch within me, and I thought, it doesn't matter what other people say. Actually, this is what I relate to, and this was my truth. It's just a bad timing.
That's really interesting, isn't it? So, you've worked on yourself that much to the point when you were going through diagnosis, it was you had like half got rid of a lot of the symptoms. That's really
Very,
interesting.
very interesting.
Well, the big thing that pushed me into that self-work, I was already into self-work in my teenage years because I carried a lot of extra weight, and I had psychological difficulties with relationships and stuff like that. So that was already getting me on a self-improvement path, but it was amplified by the bipolar diagnosis and by taking the schizophrenia meds and feeling depressed after that I really didn't want my life to look like that. So I just searched and searched and searched. And, I could have discovered ADHD first and then had everything make sense and then learn all the things that I learned. But actually,
Yeah.
my path was the opposite. I learned a lot of things that made sense. Then I discovered the ADHD thing, and then the light bulb moments I had.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Had you heard of ADHD beforehand? What was your idea of ADHD before?
had never heard of it. I had never heard of it until my 30s or so. Yeah.
Crazy that, isn't it? Because we are the exact same.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
I think with it just exploding onto the scene now, I think that's when, like, because as kids we never wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
was it? But then now, in the past, say 4 or 5 years, even less maybe, and the way it's exploded, it's kind of like now you realise, all right, okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's linked to.
TikTok.
Yeah. Adam gets a lot of his diagnosis on TikTok,
Yeah.
don't you? Brilliant. So going through your kind of like diagnosis experience or with the relating it like to the bipolar and stuff, how did you feel once you kind of got to the realization that actually I've got part of this could be ADHD? How did that make you feel? Was it a relief? Was it so I know with Adam, for example, you kind of felt a little bit of, I wouldn't say grief, but almost like you kind of mourned for your old self, kind of a little tiny bit,
Yeah,
because
it
it
was a
was like,
massive mixture
it
of
was a big, massive emotional, wasn't it? Because, could your past have been different? Did you experience any of that?
Huge sense of relief.
Hmm.
Not as huge as when I learned about a big trauma that happened to me when I was 5 years old or so.
Hmm.
And this was kind of the last pillar that I discovered right before discovering ADHD. But when I did discover about ADHD and started looking into it, I thought, wow, okay, if I just keep going and keep investigating and keep learning, because I'm not set on what am I or who am I, because there's so many complexities to mental well-being and
Yes.
diagnosis and neurodivergency. I still there's some parts of me that are wondering how much of a genius am I versus also how much of autistic am I?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't done the full investigation in those. And maybe 10 years from now, I will have a different story, certainly. But ADHD was definitely one of the strong pillars, and it stands out more than any of the other ones that I have looked into once I did discover about it. So
Excellent.
huge relief. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Did it change the way you kind of saw any past experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. It made everything about my life make sense. I've
Yeah.
always been chasing the flow states, whether it was as a teenager, being sucked into video games or playing online poker tournaments. I would play for hours and hours and hours. And I didn't know that it was because it was a flow state. It just felt good and it felt like something that I was interested in. But once I had discovered a sense of purpose that I could align my professional direction with,
Mhm.
my need for kind of escapism flow states reduced. My need
Yeah.
for partying, my need for drugs, all of this, which I was exploring before, it reduced a lot. And part of it was because I'm trying to be healthier because of the bipolar. But part of it is also now I'm getting flow states naturally through the work that I do and through the techniques that I've learned in order to be able to do that. And it's just helped me make more and more sense of everything.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm so excited to know more.
Yes,
So,
especially about the flow states. We're
yeah.
getting, Adam, calm, we are getting onto it.
No,
We are
not
getting onto
quick.
it. So let's just, before we touch on the flow state thing, can we just ask, how do you, I call it managing and thriving, which I really like, but how do you manage your ADHD now? So routines, tools, strategies that really help. And obviously we're gonna go into the flow states. Anything else that you kind of took on in life that helped it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the first thing is having the freedom and flexibility of entrepreneurship is
Hmm.
huge,
Hmm.
as well as being in an environment that is enjoyable. I haven't figured out quite as much the social piece yet. That's really an element that's missing in my life. I want to find community and find some sort of stability, but also my chasing of novelty for the dopamine is always there as well. So I don't know where I'm gonna land. I might live a nomadic life or I might have a base, but I'm still searching for that. But those are kind of the big elements. And then
Yes.
on the
I love that.
day-to-day
Yeah.
basis, I've trained myself to meditate. You know, when I was 15 years old, I had zero meditation. When I was 20 years old, I started meditating, but I could only last for 10, 20 seconds before being like, I'm done. And
Yeah.
now I can meditate for 15 to 30 minutes now. And that's
Wow.
because of the consistency. It really is consistency and also more knowledge about why it's important for me and the feeling that I get from it. And then everything else is pretty much down to lifestyle habits, like valuing sleep, exercise, hydration, um, not taking coffee within the first hour of the day if I'm gonna take coffee at all.
Oh,
Lots of little tiny tricks like that that I've picked up along the way, partly from flow, and partly from just digging a little bit into biohacking type of stuff. And that really has compounded into a lifestyle that works well.
Yeah, I think you probably take a few tips from
that's
there.
like the perfect advice, isn't it?
Honestly, yeah.
It's amazing.
Especially with the no coffee in the first hour.
Oh,
You've
no,
probably
no.
had about 3 in the first hour of waking up. Okay, so let's I know I'm really excited to hear about it. I know you are as well. So let's talk about the flow states and the coaching thing. So for those who are new to the concept, what is a flow state and why is it important for people with ADHD?
Yeah, absolutely. So a flow state is a state of consciousness or a state of being in which you are totally absorbed by the activity that you're doing. And you'll most easily recognize the flow state when you have lost your sense of time, when you've been doing an activity for 2 or 3 hours, and at the end of it, you go, wow, that was 3 hours. It felt like half an hour, or it felt like an hour. So that distorted sense of time is the classic indicator. But there's also you can also have kind of a spiritual experience in a flow state, or a lot of spiritual experiences tend to be flow states. And you can also have, if you look really deeply, you can have this experience that your mind and body and the activity that you're doing merge into one. You don't really have the boundary between like you and the activity. I know I felt this when I was snowboarding. I snowboarded at some point more than 10 years ago. But when I was in a flow state from snowboarding, you definitely feel at one with the mountain and at one with everything. There's
Right.
no, it's automatic control. You're just going with the flow. Uh, and yeah, so it tends to be activities that you are passionate about, that you like. And when you are pushed to a little bit of a challenge, but really enjoying it. So that kind of summarizes the flow state.
Amazing. I love it. But is there a difference? So can there be positive flow states and negative flow
That's
states?
where my head went because
Yeah.
when you said
Absolutely.
about getting lost in an
Yeah.
activity, my head straight went to, right, I go on TikTok
Mhm.
for 15 minutes and the next thing I know, it's been an hour. And for me, that kind of like, and I lose kind of all sense of time. And I'm like, I mean, I've got ADHD, but and you do the same, don't you?
Yeah.
And playing poker
Yeah.
online at night
Mhm.
not for money, by the way,
No.
Mr. Dad, but yeah. And you might spend like an hour doing that sometimes. Is that a flow state or is that like a negative flow state or how would you see that one?
Yeah, I think the labeling of positive or negative has its value, but it's entirely based on your goals and your lifestyle judgments.
Okay.
I would
Makes
absolutely
sense.
enjoy playing 4 hours of poker. I would.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
neurochemistry that I would feel would be the same or similar than if I was doing a 4 hour flow state writing a book. But the difference would be the book might help advance my professional goals, whereas the poker might be more of a fun kind of escapism type of flow state. And so, whether it's a positive or a negative flow state really depends on your goals. We can consider uh, addictive cycles that trigger a flow state to be also negative. And for me, anything that contra indicates my health, for me that has to do with flow, is a
mhm.
negative flow state, simply
Okay.
because health is my highest value. And you know I like to kind of unpick um unpick all of the the habits that I get into that are not aligned with my goals.
Interesting. Okay. So I guess it's personal to each person
Yeah,
then,
it's
isn't it?
definitely
Like,
personal.
so yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, is there something you would recommend to start looking into it? Like, if you think I want to change that flow state to something different, is there a way you would recommend getting into it, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think there's a top two for me. One would be passion purpose.
Mhm.
When you are passionate and driven by your purpose, and your day-to-day activities are in alignment with that passion and purpose, things that you're gonna get into are gonna be more flow producing when there's passion and purpose. Um,
I like
Now,
that passion purpose. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
true that not everything you can do will be something you're passionate and purposeful about, even if you're working on things like your purpose. I know that in entrepreneurship, I have to deal with admin and taxes and all those things. And that's where kind of the productivity neuroscience really helps in terms of the goal setting and how do you balance it in your day, where in your day do you do it, how do you mentally recover. All of these are basically productivity techniques, but backed by flow neuroscience. But the other major pillar that I would share is it has to do with trauma, emotions, and coping mechanisms. So
Mhm.
if I'm getting into a flow state for something that I'm not in alignment with. Let's say that I'm starting to look at Instagram and I'm scrolling and I start getting into a rabbit hole. Um, you can investigate. I mean, for me, I found it really helpful to understand a basic thing about trauma and emotions and how do addictions and escapism relate to emotions, and how can you match that to the actions that you do. So when I'm in a when I'm starting to be um, in a situation that could trigger a negative flow state, say getting sucked into Instagram, I
Yeah.
can watch that and I can actually tune in within myself and go, what is it that I need? What am I getting from Instagram right now that I wouldn't be getting if I were to do something that's more in alignment? And
Okay.
it sometimes it's because I'm dealing with boredom, sometimes it's because I'm dealing with loneliness, sometimes it's because I'm tired,
Mm.
sometimes because I'm angry or hungry. And I've been building up these this knowledge base of triggers because I've actually struggled with binge eating in the last 2-3 years. And that's because I've been peeling the layers away of different things, and I've found myself getting into those negative flow states where I would eat and binge on Netflix. And
Mm.
this, it has, I've gone from, I have no idea why this is happening, to learning about trauma and emotions and start identifying those triggers. And now I'm much more in a space of being able to watch and watch it rise
Yeah.
and predict that something bad is going to happen that's not in alignment with me, and instead try to give myself something different. Like
Mhm.
I might actually go for a cold shower, or I might actually go for a run instead, and that changes my mind, it changes my emotions, and then when I come back I don't even think, I'm almost too lazy to get back into the Instagram or the
The
Netflix
doom
thing.
scrolling. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess it's kind of like
but it,
taking a step back and having a look at like, right, what is this going to do for me right now?
Mhm.
Kind
yeah,
of.
I think that must
exactly.
take a
Mm.
lot of hard work and discipline, though. That's to
A
get to that.
100%.
Yeah, a little bit of that for sure. A little bit of systems as well. Like there's a lot of science behind habits and just making the undesirable habits harder and making the desirable habits easier to
Yeah.
trigger habit loops and habit cues to make life in your favor a little bit more. So
Blows my mind.
I could honestly sit here all day just listening. I find the whole thing fascinating. It's
And I think
brilliant.
it's something you could definitely get into
Oh,
more
I'm
with
there. You
like,
know it.
but yeah, yeah. Um, I really, really want to touch on as well the podcast that you have. Um, Yeah.
neurodivergency.
Yeah. And how do you think that kind of fits in with what you do with the coaching?
Yeah, so it tends to be a lot of neurodivergent people that
Mhm.
I coach. And it's, I think, normal because we attract what we are, and our story resonates with people who've had a similar story. And so the purpose of the podcast is really to showcase that there are so many methods out there and there's so many ways of doing it because um so I highlight people who have turned struggles into strengths through whatever path they may have been through: education, lifestyle changes, therapy, alternative modalities, spirituality. And we talk about their transformational journey, as well as what knowledge, what milestones, and what tools help them get there. So it's very much in alignment, in the sense that it's here to help more and more neurodivergent people realize that whether they're diagnosed or not, their brain is not fixed and their lifestyle is not fixed. They can do something about it. They just need to persevere and discover the right things for them in order to improve their life. And really
That's
it's about
amazing.
hope and inspiration and tools. Yeah.
Like I'm like, honestly, I'm hanging on everyone. Absolutely amazing, really good.
Before we move on to our good, bad, and sorry, just before actually, the podcast is available on all podcast streaming services. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
brilliant. I know we've listened to it on
I think I
Spotify,
watched it on
and
YouTube. You're
you've
on
watched.
YouTube as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I've listened on Spotify. You've watched on YouTube, so yeah, go and check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely. Before we move on to our good, bad, and ugly, then I'd just like to one last bonus question. If you could give anyone a piece of advice who are newly diagnosed, what would it be?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You cannot tell how much of your symptoms and your struggles are due to the actual wiring of your brain as it stands right now, versus how much of them are due to your environment and
Mhm.
lifestyle and just everything that you don't yet know that you don't know. So never, like, diagnosis is a starting point. Now keep getting educated and keep making self improvements.
Amazing. And actually, just one more bonus question. It's, sorry about this. I just really want to get out of you. Are there any myths about the flow states that you wish you could bust? So anything that you've thought that people have said to you, or feedback that you've had that you think, no, it's not, that's not the case, kind of thing. Is there anything you wish you could bust?
Yeah, there's a very fine line between the idea of going with the flow and kind of head in the air, not really having a plan, just seeing whatever happens, very unstructured. And there's a time and space for that. Uh, but that's not the state of consciousness that is flow, which is trainable. So I like to differentiate between the two. um and uh and you cannot be in a flow state 24/7. Like, some
Yeah.
people might say, if they're feeling high on life or whatever it may be, that they feel like they're in a flow state all the time. It's not possible. Our
Okay.
neurochemically, we go through cycles. And yeah, but you can train yourself to experience flow states more often. So
Amazing.
that's
And
the
do you
good
know what? I
news.
think if you had told me, I had told me about flow state right at the beginning, or before we even met you and we just spoke about flow states, I think I'd have thought, oh, it's just when you kind of like anyone can do it. You're just going with the flow and stuff. I think I'd have been that person. But now learning about it and speaking to you, like I realised that actually,
Mhm.
it isn't that. But
Yeah.
yeah. So we have a segment on our podcast every week called The Good, Bad and Ugly, where we get listeners to kind of write into us and tell us the good, bad and ugly about ADHD. So I'd love it if you could finish off um, with your good, bad and ugly about ADHD, please.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I might ask a clarifying question. The goods is definitely something along the lines of risk tolerance, like being able to manage high pressure, high stakes, fast paced situations, to be able to deal with the unpredictability and uncertainty of entrepreneurship and brush it off like piece of cake. This is what my
Amazing.
brain needs in order to actually just be focused, compared to most people. So that's the amazing thing. What's the difference between the bad and the ugly?
So I think for me, well, for Adam, with you, what do you think the bad is compared to the ugly?
So I would say, like, my bad would be some of the annoying things that I might do at home. The ugly would be when I got addicted to alcohol and ended up living in a caravan.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Okay. Mine are not so bad. Or maybe I need to dig further behind. Maybe actually my bad, my bad from before. I would go to festivals. I would stay 36 hours awake. I would be on 3, 4 different types of drugs. I would have such a crazy chemical cocktail inside of me.
Yeah.
And whether it was the flow state or whether it was like doing things because I feel like I wanted to belong with the group of friends or fit in or whatever. Yeah, I went in some pretty intense chemical cocktails
Mm,
for feeling good.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, or maybe that's the ugly. I don't know.
I was going to say that could definitely
That,
borderline ugly, kind of trying to
that's the
fit
ugly
in
one. Yeah,
and
that's the ugly
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
The bad, I would say, is the constant creativity of so many thoughts. Like sometimes when I'm not in a flow state and trying to work on something that I need to do, but I have so many ideas popping up, and it's like this post I need to make, and I just need to brain dump them all. But sometimes the to-do list is growing faster than my ability to execute it or manage it. So I start to have a million to-do lists, a million papers in million different places, and yeah, it's unman. I've been getting more and more systems in place to try to make it better, but it's still a little bit all over.
That's definitely one of your bads.
And
To a T,
100%.
that
Yeah.
completely
and this is
identify with that.
this is part of the reasons that I so relate to ADHD, much
Yeah.
more than bipolar or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's lovely. I mean, it's I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
And that's
There's always
amazing.
the debates of whether ADHD is a superpower or not. There's a lot of thinking we can do about that. I'm more to say that yeah, you can manage your ADHD and you can turn it into something that works for you rather than against you most of the
I
time.
completely agree.
What a lovely way to
yeah.
kind of end that as well, and end this episode on the fact that you're so positive about it. It's absolutely amazing. In fact, we've got an episode about it being a superpower because you hate that, don't you?
I don't agree with the wording, but I completely agree with what you said.
100%.
That you've nailed it.
Yeah. So just to tell everyone again, your podcast Neurodivergent is available, and yeah, everyone go and check it out. It's been
I
an
have
absolute
thoroughly
pleasure.
honestly,
Yeah.
that was fascinating, and I've just sat smiling because it's been very, very interesting, and I've loved that.
Yeah, maybe we need a part 2 one time.
Yeah.
So just all about flow states. Yeah.
And these chemical
great.
enhanced weekends.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, the chemical enhanced weekend. Amazing. It's been absolutely a pleasure to have you on,
Thank you
Anthony.
so
Yeah.
much.
Hope you have a lovely day, and yeah, keep in touch and yeah.
Definitely.
And yeah, we'll put all Anthony's links in the description
Yeah.
on the episode as well.
Mhm.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.